Hello, and welcome to the brand new edition of the podcast brought to you by SmartEnergy magazine. I am SK, host of the show. If you are into the business of solar and renewable energy, or are an energy enthusiast that believes in the power of green energy, then this is one podcast that you absolutely can't miss. We bring to you latest updates from the industry and deep insights from the industry experts on the latest trends and future growth potentials. Today, we are having on our show Mr. Rahul Gupta, Managing Director and CEO of Raise Expert. Before we begin our interaction, I would like to briefly introduce him and his company. Raise Expert is one of India's leading private solar park developers and one of the largest solar EPC and development companies. From concept to commissioning, the company offers services across every level of solar power project development. It also deals in residential rooftop segment and till date has executed over 2,500 rooftop solar projects. Raise Expert was founded in 2011 and pioneered the concept of solar parks. Mr. Rahul Gupta, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Santosh. Thank you so much.
Mr. Gupta, we have witnessed the amazing and inspiring journey you had with Raise Expert, achieving milestones, reaching new heights, and taking the company to zero debt. How did you manage to do it all? What were the key lessons you learned that you would like to share with other entrepreneurs?
One thing that we have to realize as an entrepreneur is that we are here to grow. That's the fundamental of any business. So in our case, the fundamental was settled upon by the fact that our business was profitable and we had trust of our customers who, in spite of our situation, had trust on us, who kept giving us the businesses that we want and who supported us with the cash flows at the right point of time. So first important lesson that I think we learned in this journey was that business by nature has to be profitable. Otherwise, there is no sense of actually putting up that type of efforts and that type of capital into the business if we are just looking to deteriorate it. Secondly, we need to have the complete intent to do it with right ethics, right integrity, and with an intent to give the money back from the sources where this money was taken from. And thirdly, and most importantly, we need to be working with only one aspect, that trap has to be get ridden off. When these three things are in place, then we come up with a plan that what would be our turnaround plan. We come up with strategies to actually involve the entire team, and ultimately, by God's grace, by family support, we come up and resolve the issues that we are into. That's what all happened with us also across the entire cycle of last 5 years. The most important part in this entire journey is your team, who needs to be with you, because a lot of time what happens is when the bad times happen, either a team leaves you or you leave the team, and that's where you actually double the problem. So in those times, the most important thing is that you need to speak to your guys, take their confidence in you, and you need to fix up an exit plan for everyone, give them the confidence that we are afloat for the times to come.
Thank you for sharing with our listeners the key learnings. It will definitely help the listeners to muster courage and strength to go after their dreams and work hard to make them a reality. There is a saying, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. My next question to you is, what was the key trigger that made you start your journey with solar? And what made you realize that solar parks are going to be the next big opportunity?
When I was in IIT, I always wanted to do something on my own. That was something that I decided very early in my college days. And as I was clear on that idea, next thing that I always loved to do was keep reading about new things that are coming up in the industry. Now, as in the college, if someone is thinking about what new business I should do, the first question is that everything I try to do is being done by someone else. So there is nothing new that I'm able to do. That's a very common problem. That same thing I was also facing. Anything I wanted to do, I found that somebody is into this. There's a competition. There is problem, etc., etc. Fortunately, I found solar. I came across solar in a news article and thought that it is something which is very new in the market and I can study around it. Fortunately, my institute, IIT Roorkee, had a department for alternate renewable energy sources, etc. So got some help from there, and I could decide that now this is the field I can enter into. So we started the business as a consultant in the first year. I was having a vision that anyone can set up solar power plant because it's modular in nature. Even if you have 3 plates, they can produce power on their own. So why can't we actually go to the masses? So the only way to go to the masses was when we developed solar parks. That's how we realized that solar park can be the model wherein we can get mass participation and people from any business can come and invest into the solar. So that's how we entered into this model.
Raise Expert is building the largest solar park in Bikaner, Rajasthan. Can you share with us your experience of building the world's largest solar park? What are its key features and differentiators?
So basically, we were into solar park model for last 10 years now. To quantify, we have done around 900 megawatts of projects in our solar park for almost 250 customers. Finally, we realized that the value addition in our business model is 70% of the solar park infrastructure creation and 30% is the execution that we do. So how about making a ultra mega solar park? Honestly speaking, it was a very big risk. So far, only the government has taken such a big ultra mega parks. No private company had done on its own. So there were multiple questions, but I really wanted to give it a try. Reason being, I had faced so much challenges earlier in the past in all these businesses. So I realized one thing that until we don't try, we really don't know the results. So with that intent, we started working on this ultra mega solar park. Started applying for the approvals. Took a lot of investment of ours, but we were ready to take the risk with an intent that nothing is end of the road. At least until we don't try, we don't learn. My idea is that this through the solar park, we want to conceptualize that our entire country is connected through a very robust network of grid. So the idea is that we should be producing power at one point in the country and using it anywhere in the country. With that intent, we made this solar park that will connecting directly to the central transmission utility. Secondly, we wanted to give a ready to move, very highly certain place of investment for our solar plant developers, for our investors. And this is what I think is the biggest reason why we are able to make it a success. One of the biggest difference that it creates from the industry is that while other solar parks are either connected to the state grid or are smaller in capacity, ours is a large solar park, 2000 megawatt, connected directly to the central grid. Highly cost optimized model. Plus at this size, economy of scales works out to be excellent. It's not only solar that we are focused upon. Now, having realized that we are good at creating infrastructure, so now our target is to produce round the clock power on renewable basis. And with that intent, we are now looking for multiple other sources of power, expanding outside solar too. But the principal ethos of the entire business model is provide round the clock renewable power being developed for the individual by the individual in their own capacities.
Raise experts and visions to enable every individual to own a solar power plant. How do you plan to make this happen?
So basically, that's the vision that we have, that every individual can own a solar plant in its own capacity. Even if you are a small residential owner, put up a solar plant on your rooftop. You are producing the power as much as you are consuming. Your industry produce a solar on your rooftop or under open access in anywhere in the other part of the country outside your premises. Produce power and as much as you are actually consuming. With solar, you can make this happen very easily, and that's the basic fundamental between our mission that every individual should own a solar plant in its own capacity, be it a small person or be it a businessman or be it an large corporate. This principle applies for everyone.
Like many other industries, the solar industry also has been affected by the lockdown. Could you share your views on the current status of the solar industry in India? What, according to you, can be the big policy push that can take the sector to the next level?
Last 1 year has been very tough for solar industry. The prices of raw materials, solar panels, steel, everything is rose. Now, because of which the new installations are getting reduced for some time. Then the COVID happened. People actually stopped investing into solar. That's a sad part of the business. But if you look at the brighter side, down the line after 3 years from now, when the way government is pushing local manufacturing, we'll see excellent results of this. We'll see much stable market. Ultimately, solar, even today, after increased prices, is much cost effective than compared to the other sources of power. So industries would go for solar for sure. There need to be a wait for some time until the industry is calibrated, until the market prices are realized, until the consolidation happens. I would say next 1 year is tough time for the industry. But after that, we will see a lot of manufacturing push in India, a lot of clarity on the supplies, the suppliers, prices. We would be able to forecast ourselves very well. I'm very optimistic about the current scenario which is going on in our solar industry in terms of the pricing. Coming to the big policy push, as I feel the biggest challenge in our country is that power is a state subject. And moreover, the consumers are dependent on the discoms for supply of the power. I think slowly we are moving towards a regime where market is getting liquid. Government is encouraging industries to purchase power from the exchanges, from bilateral power agreements. Green open access policy that the government has released, added to that, they've increased the trading on the energy exchanges. So all this will result into a lot of liquidity into the power market, which would ultimately result in demand for the new solar plants or new renewable energy plants coming up. And that is the biggest policy push that I feel we are witnessing right now. So I would like to say one thing is that we are in a phase of transition. The next 1 year are very crucial for our industry. If this transition phase goes smooth, then there is nothing stopping the Indian renewable energy market. It's a big market, it's a big opportunity.
We are seeing a lot of push from the government on energy storage. How do you look at the need of energy storage in India? What are the key challenges faced in adoption of solar with storage and the way forward?
Energy storage is the need of the hour. So if we have a energy storage, then we can use this excess solar power produced and discharge the batteries in the evening hours. The only problem right now is that the battery storages are very expensive. So until the government doesn't push them, the prices will be higher. So government is promoting a big time on the energy storage devices, coming up with dedicated tenders, coming up with extra incentives, etc., etc. Still, I feel ultimately the energy storage systems are also not the ultimate solution to this crisis that we are facing in the evening hours. To reduce our dependence on the thermal sources, energy storage to some extent can play a part, but definitely they are also highly dependent on natural resources which are not abundantly available, and they end up resulting in somewhere affecting the nature. Everyone realizes this fact, and that's the reason why there is a limited push for the energy storage systems, and nobody considers them to be a future. What would be the future? There are options working out on green hydrogen, there are options working out on pump storage solutions, and many other ways which actually can help us get a reliable power, firm nature of power in the evening hours. If we are actually able to invest something on the storage solutions, promote them, and be ready to purchase slightly expensive power in the evening hours, I feel for down the line in future, we'll have a very smart solution which is renewable based and which is still giving us power in the time when we actually need the storage solutions. So the challenge currently is that we are not ready to get the power prices increased. That's the biggest challenge. We have to mentally be prepared that power prices will increase slightly, but that will help us for much better sources of power down the line in future.
Raise Expert today is the fastest growing company and is ranked amongst the top 5 companies. To what do you attribute your success to?
Everything that we are here today for, I dedicate that to the infinite support and the pillar of strength that I've got from my parents, from my family, from my sister, and from my team members, from my ex-team members who were not completely till the end in the journey. My engineers at the site have worked hard to make us reach at this level. My operations team, my executions team have worked hard to make sure that the projects are executed well. Our sales teams have worked hard to make sure that the cash flows are made possible even in the hardest possible times. And ultimately, my family, who actually were standing right across us, who made sure that we are there together with me in the journey. So everyone who has contributed here in this journey, I dedicate this success to them.
Where do you see Raise Expert in the next 5 years, and how do you see it contributing to the growth of solar industry in India?
See, we are looking at an solar installation base of almost 300 gigawatts in next 7 years from now, which means that annually we need to be installing at least 30 to 40,000 megawatts of solar every year. As Raise, we plan to add 5 gigawatts of solar capacity in our solar parks every year. If we are able to do that, we feel that we are contributing a small portion to the overall portfolio, but we will be making a substantial investment into the future growth aspects of the solar policy in the country.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta, for coming on this podcast and inspiring the next generation of entrepreneurs and business leaders to work hard and work better and to live the life of their dream.
Thank you so much, Santosh. Pleasure talking here.
So, listeners, we have reached the end of this amazing episode of the podcast that was brought to you by SmartEnergy magazine. If you like this episode, then don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. And yes, recommend the podcast to business friends and industry colleagues. Thank you for tuning.